is PSA the best grading company? Reason for the question is I have submitted cards to PSA, and by the time I get them back, the value's gone down. So is it better to sell raw or grade and then sell? So, Patrick, that is happening because you do not know what you're doing. Do you realize you are what's wrong with the hobby? And do you realize everyone hates you for it? It's a hobby, a pastime, not a money-making scheme. We're here for Beyond the Game, and in this episode, I'm going to answer some amazing questions and deal with someone who said one of the nastiest things to me I've ever seen said to myself online, and a bunch of other things. If you don't know who I am, hi, my name is Eric Michael. I've sold over $5 million in sports cards, and I started making these videos about 4 years ago to help people get into the world of making money with sports cards, because I think it's an amazing way to make an income online. Something in my mouth over there. A little caffeine pouch. But anyways, I'm going to jump right into it and show you guys some amazing questions I've gotten. These podcasts are great because just every single time I do them, I feel like you guys just give me more and more and more to talk about. I remember when I used to send out the email to get questions, there was only a few, and now there's like 10, 15, 20. But let's get right into it. So Rod says, does pre-production auto-proof cards generally have any investment value? I see one-of-one proof cards on eBay for very cheap prices, $20 to $30. No. Really, the only cards with long-term investment value. So let's break that down for a second. So when you say long-term investment value, what that means is whoever you're buying, whatever player, if they do well, this card value will go up. Really, the main cards, when I say main cards, I mean like Contenders and Prism and Bowman Chrome and Flawless and National Treasures. Those are the ones with long-term investment value and that you're going to see go up. These weird off proof cards, no. So to answer your question, no. They have no long-term investment value. I would not buy them if I were you. Steve, this is a good one. Steve says, what are the biggest risks for the sports card market to crash? Good question. I like that question. That's a good one. All right. So for those of you guys who are kind of newer to watching this and newer to sports cards, you may know that the sports card market crashed in the 90s. Okay? Why did it crash in the 90s? Well, it crashed in the 90s because there was mass overproduction of one card. So if I jump to my iPad here and show you, so this is like a classic example. So like this card of Ken Griffey Jr., his 1989 Upper Deck, this card you're looking at on my iPad right now, this card was printed hundreds of thousands of times, a lot. I don't know the exact number, but a lot. And because of that, because there was so much supply of cards, you know, when supply is all the way up here, eventually things crash. That's just how it goes. So what happened in the world of sports cards is in like 2010, 2011, 2012, sports cards started to pick up. And I know you guys watching this, a lot of you guys probably got in during the pandemic, but believe it or not, before the pandemic, and even when I got in 2015, sports cards is a pretty hot thing. Like I remember a Mike Trout rookie card in 2015 or 2016 was selling for like $2,000, and people were like, oh my God, this is absolutely crazy. I can't believe a 25-year-old player with nothing, who hasn't proven anything, is selling for so much money. Different world than we are in today. But sports cards has been hot for some time before the pandemic. And these companies, now I can't say this for a fact, but I could say these companies, in my opinion, what they said to themselves is, okay, 20 years ago or 30 years ago, the sports card market crashed. How can we make sure that doesn't happen again? Well, it crashed because of mass overproduction, right? Any rookie just had one player and they would just print the same card tons and tons of times. But let's create diversification. So for example, some of the first instances of this was like Bowman Chrome. Bowman Chrome Baseball, right? They started to make blues and golds and oranges and reds and a superfractor. And it was a great way to kind of diversify the sports card market so people of all incomes could get in, right? Because you could have a, Ronald Acuna rookie card that sells for, not autographed Bowman Chrome, PSA 10, maybe $50 to $100. And then the same type of card, right, just same type of card of Ronald Acuna, just same picture, but an autograph on it. His Superfractor sells for $100,000 plus, right? So that is what companies have done so the sports card market does not crash. And kind of to allude to your question here, Steve, so the sports card market will crash if sports crash, because sports cards follows along sports. So because so many of these players have so much hype, people care about them so much, and they make so much money, and people just love sports. Sports cards follows along suit, right? Because everyone in sports cards are sports fans. So I can't see it crashing. I mean, every single year during the holidays, the sports card market does dip. So like while I'm speaking right now, it dips during the holidays because people are spending their money elsewhere. And then it picks back up in the New Year's. It happens basically every single year, to be honest. It's kind of funny how it works. But it's a great time to buy cards. But Steve, I would ask myself, if you think sports is going to crash, then sports cards will crash. But sports is just getting bigger and bigger. So that's what I would say. This guy put his name as Sweaty Butt Cheeks. That's funny. So Sweaty Butt Cheeks says, this pertains to stars from last year or something, yesteryear. I'm not sure what that means. This pertains to stars like late 90s and early 2000s, or players that were hyped but never had a Hall of Fame career. Would you only buy their rookie cards to flip for profit, or any card ever made? Like Nomar, I'm assuming you're referring to Nomar Garciaparra, or like Kurt Suzuki or Mark McGwire. So Mark McGwire cards actually sell for a lot of money. But so you're talking about guys who are really good, but never made it to the Hall of Fame. So this is the problem, okay? So like this is the way I know how to make money with sports cards, right? And let's hop over to the handy dandy iPad, right? 2 ways to make money. Actually, really, there's 3 ways. There's 2 ways to make money with sports cards, right? So 2 ways to make money, at least that I know of, right? Number 1, grading. All right, you guys see me talk about this all the damn time. You buy a card for $50, you spend $20 to get it graded, and as a 10, it sells for $150, $200, $250, etc. That's number 1. Number 2 is something I call short-term investing. And what this is, all this is, and honestly, so short-term investing is, you could kind of do this with vintage and modern. And all you're doing, when I say short-term investing, you're buying cards already graded at their low point and selling it at their high point. And it works for both modern and vintage. So like, for example, let's do a nice little graph here. Here goes my drawings. And let's do a graph, right? So like Victor Wembanyama, for example, if this is June and then this is September. All right, let's see how this goes. So his cards start off really hot and weep, it comes down, and then it starts to pick back up as it gets to September and actually start to level off once the season kind of got closer. But what you could do with short-term investing is buy at its low point here and sell at its high points. So those are the 2 ways I know to make money with sports cards. Buying cards already graded, waiting for the low point, and then selling it at the high point. And you could do this with vintage as well. Vintage is basically the same thing. It kind of just like goes like this and up over time. You just buy it at the low, sell it at the high, or grading, right? So short-term investing and grading are the 2 ways I know to make money. Now, I'm telling you this because like a card of Nomar Garciaparra, I'm not sure his rookie year, was it like 2004 or something? It doesn't really go up over time because it's not a hyped player. You can't buy cards to get graded because they're too old. I'm not sure how to make money with it. Unless you just, you can just buy it cheap and flip it, right? That's always a valid thing. But so to be honest, I would have no idea how to make consistent money with guys like Nomar Garciaparra. Like guys like Mark McGwire, kind of like I was just explaining, right? If you have a graph, I was actually looking at a card of Mark. Actually, instead of me drawing this, let me just show you. So like Mark how do I spell McGuire? Oh, there it is. Yep, I was looking at this card. Mark McGuire. 1985. Oh, I spelled it wrong. Hold on. McGuire. I can't spell. This is crazy. USA. I think it was a USA PSA 10, was it? Yep, this one. So here we go. I was looking at this card. This is why I'm referring to it. So with a card of Mark McGuire, so Mark McGuire should be in the Hall of Fame, right? He just took steroids, so he's not. So Mark McGuire is not a good example of someone who's not in the Hall of Fame because people view him as a Hall of Famer. Like Barry Bonds cards sell for a lot of money because he's good enough to be in the Hall of Fame. He's just not because he, did steroids. But like Mark McGuire, right? Like you could see like a perfect time to buy this card is like right now, right? Like it just sold for like a low of $2,600. And you can see it hasn't sold for this low in the past 365 days. So, there's no reason this card can't bump back up here or here or here. So, like, I would buy this card all day at $2,400, $2,500, and the card's already graded. So, I'm showing you that because Mark McGuire is really a Hall of, if he's a Hall of Famer, is he not? Well, that's a debate, right? But people view him as a Hall of Famer, right? So, but cards of like Nomar Garcia, Parra, these guys who are really good but not good enough, I don't know how to make money with them. So that's the best answer I got for you. So, all right, my lips are like chappy. RGANJ says high-end value cards. How do you find those? What is the value of a card like a triple signature 0304 SP Authentic Jordan, LeBron, Kobe 9.510? So that card, 50 grand, 75 grand. Then how do you find those cards? I mean, they're all over the place. You can just go on eBay. Like if you just go on eBay, right now, like I am, and type in like, LeBron James, and you just go to highly or highest price, right? Sort by highest priced. You'll see. I mean, look at some of these cards. I mean, are these cards worth $2 million? Absolutely not. But, there's tons and tons of high-end cards on here. This is a sick one. But how do you find them? I mean, right here. But how do you buy them at good prices? I mean, cards like that, like LeBron James cards that are worth $50,000, $100,000, $200,000, are you going to be buying those cards to flip? Not really. You got if you have money like that, you're buying those cards to really just think of it like buying a Disney stock. You're buying it for the long term. You're just putting your money in what your opinion is a good place. So, yeah, that's the best way to answer that question. And then how do you find them? I mean, cards like that, if I had money, if I was you and I had a lot of money like that and I was looking to spend 100 grand, 200 grand on a card, I would just win them via auction, via like golden auction, just so you're paying the correct market. And also I would look at previous sales and try to kind of like I just did here before with market movers. Like if you're gonna buy a LeBron James like super expensive card, like let me pull up an example. Like if I'm gonna buy a LeBron James, like I don't know, 2003. I mean, this card's not terribly expensive, but it's the best example I could think of right now. PSA 10, LeBron. So like, okay, let's do this card because this is a very expensive card. Nope, and there's no sales. Let's do this one. This one's also expensive. So like, if I'm gonna buy an expensive card of LeBron, so this card you can see is like, sold for like 24 grand, then all the way up to 38 grand in the past year. I would just wait for a low. So like, if I was looking to buy a card like this for the long term, I'd feel comfortable buying it at the low in the year of 25 grand. I don't want to buy it when it's up here. I want to wait till it comes back down. I don't really buy cards like that. The only cards I buy that I hold long term that I have no plans of selling are 1933 Gaudi Babe Ruths. Why? I just like them. I think they're good long term investments. I wish I had a better reason than that, but I don't really have a better reason than that. So hopefully that answers that question. Oh, this is a good one. This is one of the best questions I've ever gotten. And it's not really a question. It's more bashing me. So this is a good one. All right. This guy did not put his name. Question is, Do you realize you are what's wrong with the hobby? And do you realize everyone hates you for it? It's a hobby, a pastime, not a money-making scheme. You fucktard. So, yes. Well, first off, let me say this, right? I post a lot of content on the internet, and, we run a lot of ads. Anyone who runs ads and post content, right? You have the people that like you and you have people that hate you, right? If you're watching this right now, you probably enjoy what I say and you like what I say because I provide value. And there's guys like that honestly, you're telling me that you're probably angry at the world for some reason. But this is what I would say to you, Mr. I don't know your name. But so let me ask you this, right? You think what I do is wrong with the hobby, right? Because I teach people how to buy cards, get them graded, and flip them. Two things. Number one, now I have no problem with breakers, right? People who sell boxes and cases and split them between a bunch of individuals on Whatnot and things like that, and break open these boxes and cases. And those people are monetizing like crazy. Is there something wrong with those people? Is there something wrong with eBay? eBay is the one that makes the most amount of money, right? They take a 13% fee every time you sell a card. Is monetizing the hobby eBay doing it? Is something wrong with that, right? Or what about Golden Auctions, who auctions cards and take a 20% cut? Is there something wrong with them, right? Where there's money, people are always going to monetize and take advantage. And actually, what I would say in my case, so obviously I'm going to defend myself because I'm me, but people, right? So this person who's angry at me and angry at the world, you're saying sports cards is a pastime, it's for collectors, it's for fun. And I would actually say that I am providing more fun into the hobby, because basically what I teach people to do is buy cards, get them graded, and sell them and make a few $1,000s per month. And guess who, when you buy a card and you get it graded, let's say you buy a card of Jalen Hurts and you get it graded as a 10 and you sell it, guess who you're selling that card to? You're selling that card to probably a Jalen Hurts collector, someone who thinks that Jalen Hurts is a good purchase, wants to hold him for the long haul. And people in sports cards, they prefer highly graded cards, cards that are graded at 10, right? That's just, in general, people prefer those cards. So am I monetizing off of it? Yeah, you bet your ass, for sure. And am I helping people along the way? Hell yeah. But I would actually go so far to say that breakers, right, people who sell boxes and cases, they're essentially a casino. They're selling gambling. And anyone who buys boxes and cases in the long run, you are guaranteed to lose money. Just like if you go to the casino and you go and play the slots every day, unless you're the luckiest son of a gun ever, one out of 100,000 people, you are going to lose money guaranteed. But is there something wrong with those people? I don't think so, because those people provide a lot of what the hobby needs, right? Every card that you see that's on eBay or comes into existence comes from a pack or a box. And if most people who are breaking open boxes and cases, they're well aware of the fact that this is gambling, right? What they're doing is gambling, and they're probably going to lose in the long run, but it's entertaining, right? And I have no problem with the breakers and people who sell these boxes and cases, right? They're making a buck. You got to make a buck. Everyone's got to make a buck. But anything that grows at the rate sports cards has, you're going to get people that monetize off of it. It's just how it goes. But it's what pushes, the hobby further, right? It's what pushes. It's just progressive. That's just how life works, right? When people discovered that you could sell stuff online like Jeff Bezos did in the 90s, he took advantage of it. And then people saw him take advantage of it, and then other people took advantage of it, right? It's just how the life works. So I wouldn't be so angry at the world, Mr. I'm not sure your name. But, learn from it, right? Maybe you can make an extra few $1,000s and then take the extra few $1,000s per month and put it into your PC, or, help your family with it. Don't be so angry, my man. So David, moving on here, says, how do you pick cards with so many variations? What is your typical turnover for sales, purchase to sale? So typical turnover from purchase to sale, for me at least, is I'm assuming you're referring to buying cards and getting them graded. So me, when I buy cards, I buy a lot of cards already graded. And because of that, my turnover to sale is like 2 to 3 months. I usually hold cards. But if you're buying cards to get graded, about 30 to 40 days. And I wouldn't focus so much on the different variations of cards because there's so many different variations. Like, so here, David, let me answer your question real quick here, guy. So, right, I abide by something called the 2x rule, right? All this means if I'm buying a card for, let's say, $50, I want to know, can I double my money? Can I net at least, well, actually, nope, not that. So, right, grading is going to cost me roughly about $20. I just want to know if I'm into it for 50 plus 20, can I net at least 140? I want to at least double my money if this card grades well for me. That's what I abide by. And as long as it's a good type of card, so like Prism or Contenders or Bowman Chrome and stuff that sells and it's liquid, I really don't give a shit about the variation, to be perfectly honest with you. There's so many damn variations, like green this, blue this, black this, like who knows, right? And just to show you an example, like, I don't know, let's go on eBay real quick. So like if we go to like Bowman Chrome, I don't know, let me think here. Here, better example. Prism Disco Stroud 2023, right? Let's use this card for example, right? Now this card sells for, we could see, like $55, not graded, and a 10 is about $200, right? You could see the last sale did $198 on November 4th, and raw does $55. You get it graded, you're gonna be into it for about $75-$80, and you could double your money, right? Whether that card is blue, purple, black, green, orange, disco, whatever, I really don't give a shit. It sells, and I know I could sell it to someone, and it's going to make me money, and that's all that matters. Don't get so caught up in the different types of variations because you'll drive yourself crazy, and it really doesn't matter. Like, certain variations are a little bit more liquid than others, but if you're sticking to, like, the good types of cards, so, like, I have a bunch of trainings on this, but, like, for football, right, like Prism, Optic, Donruss, Contenders. I'm probably missing a few. Flawless, but I don't know. This is hard to grade. I'm going to put a question mark here because you may not be buying that. Like, these types of cards, it doesn't matter the variation. They have so many different variations that I can't even keep up with them, like a million of them, because they add more variations every single year because these companies, sports cards are just growing, and more variations they put in there, the more cards they have to sell, the more boxes they can make, more boxes they make, more boxes they can sell, more money they can make, right? So, that's the best way to answer your question. Hopefully that makes sense. Sean, good question, Sean. I don't know, Sean, did I answer this question last podcast, or is this, because I thought I answered something like this. But how do you manage your profit and loss and inventory of cards? Do you use Excel or something a little bit more geared towards sports cards? So I use Google Sheets. So tracking. So like here. So this is what I track. Let me try to not forget. So I track card type. So what did I buy, right? Like a CJ Stroud Silver Prism. Purchase price, right? That's probably important. Purchase price. And then the next thing I track is the seller. Who did I buy it from? And what I do is I attach a link to, so like I'll put here, like I put a link, like I hyperlink it. So I could just click and it'll bring me right back to their Facebook profile or right back to their eBay page or wherever. So then I have, oh, that's sloppy, but that's okay. Grading cost, right? And then the grade, right? Was this a PSA 10, hopefully, or wherever you sent it in for grading. And then also I should also put here grading company. Grading company, right? And then, so I'm just like, right, taking you down the, all these steps here. So the grading company, and then I have the sale price, fees, what I actually netted, who is the buyer, right? And same thing here. I put a link. So these are key, right? This and this are key because over time, when you get, you buy and sell these cards, you're going to build up a huge list of people that you've bought and sold from. And if you're ever bored or whatever, you could just hit up. Let's say, hey, I'm super bored. Like, I want to buy some cards. Like, boop, just go and hit up all the sellers and that you've ever bought from. And if you bought from them once, they probably have more cards that are good as well, right? It's called, you ever hear that saying, that business saying, the fortune is in the follow-up? That's what they actually mean. And I'm actually helping someone with their business, and I was explaining this to them. And the fortune is actually not in the follow-up, but the fortune is in being organized to follow up. That's where the fortune is. So by being organized and keeping track, that is how to really scale your sports card business and make more money with less time. And then the last one is profit, loss. Did you make money? Did you lose money? There's formulas in here, but these are the simple things I keep track of. Might be missing one or two, but and then how I keep track of my inventory. I know if this is empty, right? If sale price is empty, that means I still have the card on me. That's how I keep track of it, and it works out pretty well. And then I also have I use something called an all-in-one service we have. So when I send in cards, there's a whole dashboard and stuff, but I like to keep it on my own sheet, but that's how I do it. Hopefully that answers your question. So, Ron here says, you've mentioned purchasing low cards and turning them into higher value cards. So yeah, through grading. The market is depressed and has been for some time. By using the math, fewer and fewer cards fit the formula for going through grading to turn a profit. Well, that's not true. How do you do this? Also, I see 2 price points for your program, one very expensive and one not too bad. Could you speak on this? Do you base analysis of the cards in a hard copy or a scan copy? Scan copy, is your system compatible with some sort of scanner? If neither of these, who or what do you use for comps? Please spend some time running through your cost analysis. Thank you. That was a lot. So, okay, so no, that was a lot. There's a lot of questions in that one question, Ron. So this is because you're asking this question. This is probably why you should join the program, because there are tons of cards out there where you can make tons of money. You just have to know the right types of cards. Like certain types of cards don't pull a great profit when they 10. Certain types do. In the program, we have lists of the types of cards you should be buying versus lists of the types you shouldn't be. And the market's depressed right now because it's the holidays. This happens every single year. And then it picks back up in January, February. Comparing it to the pandemic, it's obviously depressed compared to that because anything that goes up that much will come down. It's just how markets go, right? Anything that's so high just goes down. And you asked, so we have 2 different programs, one not too bad and one more expensive. We don't allow you in the more expensive one until you buy the cheaper one first. So that's the way it's set up. The cheaper one is simpler. It's not as expensive. We force everyone to buy that first and make a few $1,000s. Then you could upgrade to the more expensive one once you see it work. And the reason we do that is because we understand people are skeptical. Like if you're watching this, some of you guys are probably thinking about buying my program or thinking about getting into sports cards, and we understand people are skeptical, so let's not sell you an expensive one. Let's sell you a cheap one, give you some simple coaching, some videos, make a few $1,000s, and then you could upgrade to the more expensive one if you choose or don't choose. Whatever your decision is, that's totally okay. But that's why it's structured the way it is. And cost analysis, so my cost analysis on grading sports cards is very simple. I kind of just did it. Can you 2x your money? That's my cost analysis. That's why sports cards is great. It's really not too difficult, right? And yeah, so I guess I don't have that much to say on cost analysis. Like, there's no need to make things more complicated than they are. You don't need some sort of fancy financial model on Excel. Can you double your money? Can you not? And then, there's a whole other caveat to it, right? Is the card you're buying in good condition? Are you going to be selling it at the right time? Can it appreciate in value while it's sitting at the grading company, right? All these things are important, but my cost analysis is, can I double my money? That's the best I got for you. So hopefully that answers your question, Ron. And Daniel has a question here. So Daniel says, which MLB players are you buying? Playoff studs, rookies, stars. Who are you buying and why? So who I'm buying is, this is what I ask myself when I'm buying baseball players in the offseason, right? So the way baseball, all right, let's put this up here. Baseball, also, it came to my attention that I hold a pencil or a pen like a 4-year-old, and I think I do. So someone pointed that out. But baseball, right? So baseball is low in November to December, right? This is a good time to buy baseball. And baseball picks up, right? It gets high in February, March. This depends on the player, and certain players will go up more, and so you'll see certain players go up in even December. This is how baseball works essentially. So I ask myself, okay, well, if baseball is going to be high in February, March, what creates hype, right? What creates hype, right? When demand goes up, price goes up, right? This is just simple economics. And I ask myself, okay, so if demand equals hype, which then increases the price, who in baseball can have the most hype? And I have come to realize guys with the most hype, let me bullet point this, right, have not played in MLB yet, number one. Number two, a high percent chance getting called up. So this is important because if you have a high percent chance of getting called up and people think you're going to start for said team, especially the big teams like the Cubs and the Yankees and stuff like that, your value is going to go up because people get excited, right? It's just common sense. So the types of guys I look for, right? I look for 20 to 22 years old, triple A, and good end of season the year before. Good end of the season the year before. This is important because this means you have a high chance of getting called up the coming spring. And this is just who I prefer to buy the most. I mean, I also, behind me is a $10,000 card of Jackson Chourio. So I also buy guys that, have played. But, a good example, I was actually just looking to buy this card, but some fucking asshole took it from me on Facebook. I was actually fucking pissed off because I really wanted this card. But I was looking to buy a card of Jackson Merrill. Jackson Merrill's had a really good rookie year. And the card I was looking to buy was an orange Bowman Chrome. But let me show you this. So this is his PSA 10 base autograph. And basically all I'm looking to do is, okay, Jackson Merrill had a good year. And you can see this card is selling for even $300, $400, $500 when it was hot, especially going into the playoffs. And then whoop-de-doo, what happens? The Padres lose, and this card comes crashing down, and the last sale is like 260, right? If I could buy it here, and it could come back up to like 400, 450, that's great. So like I just look to buy. I'll really buy any baseball, to be honest with you. Any star, whether they played or they didn't, as long as they've crashed, and I think it's leveled out a little bit at the low point, right? So like you can see here, it came down, it crashed. There's a few consistent sales around 240, 270, 260. So it's kind of started to level off. And in my opinion, you never know. But in my opinion, I think it's just going to start to come back up. I don't see it, even if it doesn't go down anymore and it just stays even, I break even. And obviously, nothing's ever guaranteed. But that's the way I buy baseball. And these are the types of guys I'm buying. So like to answer your question, Marcelo Meyer is someone who I think has a solid high chance to get called up in this coming spring. So hopefully that makes sense. Victor says, enjoying the program a ton. Ooh, you're in the program. Nice. When looking up newer cards on eBay for baseball, how do you comp when there is nothing to compare with? So if the card is, so if you're in the program, you should know this, but I'll just say it out loud. So if there's no comps of cards, you really shouldn't be buying them because that means the card's newer. And when newer cards come out, they start off here and crash down. So you can't find any comps, don't buy it. It's probably a sign you should not be buying it, and you're newer, and people make these mistakes all the time. But good thing you asked me. So if it's like brand new, like 2024 Bowman Chrome, and you don't see any sales, I would personally stay away, because most guys just come down. Alfred, I have a card of Trevor Lawrence. It's a gold disco, but the back is of a different player. I had trouble finding information because the card was different. It's flawed? I got to see the card, Alfred. So it's a gold disco rookie Trevor Lawrence, but the back is of a different player. I don't really know what to say. I mean, some people find that stuff really valuable. Some people don't give a shit. If it was me, I mean, I don't really care about that stuff. It's probably worth less than you think, if I had to guess. But I would just get it. I would just auction it as an error card. You might get two people that really want it for some bizarre reason, and it'll sell for a lot of money. But it's probably worth much less than a regular gold disco, if I had to guess. So like whatever a regular gold disco is worth, I would cut it in half if I had to take a guess as to what it's worth. But I could totally be wrong. And then Patrick says, is PSA the best grading company? Reason for the question is I have submitted cards to PSA, and by the time I get them back, the value's gone down. So is it better to sell raw or grade and then sell? So, Patrick, that is happening because you do not know what you're doing. So, let me explain to you what everybody does. This is what everybody does. Let me put it up here. Everybody. This is what everyone does, right? You ready? So, I'm going to provide you a great example. It's August. Actually, you know what? Let me change the color here. Step number 1. August. What do? You're excited for the football season to start. You buy a CJ Stroud Silver Prism. You buy this card to get it graded. Step number 3, and you paid $400 for this card. Step number 4, you receive card back, let's say August, September, in October. Step number 5, PSA 10 is now worth the same you paid because you're timing the market terribly. So this is to show you an example. In CJ Stroud, I don't know why his value went down so much. It went down some, but I think it should have went down a little bit, but not. I mean, man, it did. This is what people do. You ready? I'm gonna show you right now. Compare, and compare. Watch this. Watch this. All right. So, people buy. If you look here, if you look at my pen or near it, you can see this card raw, or a PSA 9, and raw was like 260, 270, and a 10 was like 830. And then you buy it now to get it graded, and you get it back and like here. And now a PSA 10 is worth much less. And a PSA 9, so check this out, right? What you paid here raw, like $300, a PSA 10 is barely worth more. And look now. Like now the PSA 10 is really worth not much. But this is all comes down to timing, right? You're just timing the market terribly wrong. Like if you bought this card here, you know, for like $300 and you got it back from grading here, you know, it went up a little bit. You know, you can see this card almost touched $1,000 in early August. Look how crazy that is. And then today, boop, it's worth $475 the last sale, or $445, excuse me, the last sale. That's why you're getting cards back from PSA and you are losing money because you don't know what you're doing. You need to be buying low, selling high, and it's difficult because when you're buying something low, it feels like it's never going to go back up in value, right? Warren Buffett has that extremely famous quote that I think is very applicable to sports cards. You know, be fearful when others are greedy, be greedy when others are fearful. That's what he's talking about, right? When everyone's greedy, you should be fearful. You should be selling CJ Stroud in August. Like, whoa, like, you know, everyone wants him. Let me stay away. Let me sell it. And then be greedy when others are fearful. Like right now, maybe CJ Stroud's a good buy because everyone's scared. His value is tanked. Which still, he's still a great quarterback. I don't know why it's went down that much, but it's fucking crazy. Hopefully that makes sense. On to some other things. So those are all the sports card questions I got for you. Bunch of good questions. I appreciate all of them. And some other things. I like to end these podcasts with me just talking about random things that have happened in my life or things I've learned or anything along those lines. So we have a student. His name is Matt. And it's funny because I've been doing this for a while and, you know, thousands of people have joined Major League Profits up to this point. And quite honestly, it's pretty easy to tell whether or not someone's going to be an all-star or not. And this guy, Matt, was... So the way the program's structured is like the first section of it, like the first like 5 to 7 videos, is a lot of mindset stuff. Like you need to understand, right? You got to spend money to make money. You need to have your schedule correct because it's an important thing. It is. People overlook mindset, but it's just so important. And this guy Matt, who was telling me about it, he's in our first program, the Academy program. He was telling me how amazing my mindset videos were and how he started going to the gym in the morning, etc. And when someone is like that and they obsess over that mindset stuff, they always do well in the program and they always crush it and make a lot of money. But the people who don't think they need those mindset videos are the ones that do need it, but they never watch it and they never do well. Because you need to like know how to operate mentally. It's just a huge part of business, I promise you. And it's funny. I just think it's ironic that the people who don't need the mindset videos watch them, and the people who need the mindset videos don't watch them. But the people that need the mindset videos and don't watch them, it's because they have a bad mindset and they think they don't need those mindset videos. I don't know. It's funny. It's funny how it works. That's number one. Number two, this is actually a feel-good story, I guess you could say. So we had a student. His name, I'm not going to say it out loud, I guess, but he had a bad go of it. He had some unlucky things that happened to him with sports cards, some unlucky things that happened to his life. And a few months ago, I lent him $2,000 out of my own personal money. I was like, listen, I know you paid us money for this program. I'm going to personally send you $2,000 because I believe in you, and I know this program works. Changed his life. Now he took that money, now he's making like $2,000 a month, I think, something like that. And he actually sent me the money back plus an extra few $100s, I believe. But it's pretty cool when you could do something like that and really change someone's life. Because I'm truly a believer that money should be used to help the others around you and, you know, to make more money. And I've actually never lent a student money before, and I probably never will again. But I was in a good mood, and I just think, you know, you should use money to help others, especially if, you know, he bought my program and just had some unlucky things happen to him. That was pretty cool. And I was talking to someone about stress. So this is an interesting one. So I have here in my notes, I wrote down, you should not be stressed that you are stressed because that's what makes you money. So I remember the conversation. This was with my business partner. So I was talking to my business partner, And we're talking about how so I'm not even going to lie. We make a ton of money, way too much money for people that are our age. And, we don't spend it like that. And we don't buy stupid things. We're really not materialistic. We both value money in the same exact way. We will spend our money on things that make our lives easier. And, give it to our family and stuff. And what's funny is we're having a conversation with this. So we bought a new hot tub. So we bought a hot tub and put it on our balcony because that's something, it sounds ridiculous and it sounds bougie, but we use it almost every single day. And while we're laying in there, we have good conversations about business, about life. And we were talking about how it's funny because we're very neurotic and we stress about every little detail, like every little employee needs to be doing this and that and updates and just to the fucking T with everything. And it stresses us out, right? Because if you operate like that, then you not micromanage people, but if you stress about every little thing in the business, you're going to be stressed. But it's ironic because being stressed about all those things is what makes us a lot of money, which causes us to not be stressed. And the point I'm trying to make here is that anything you do in life is stressful, especially when it comes to money. Because think about this, right? Let's say you own a business like myself, or you have a job, whatever it is. If you're growing, like we are, that's stressful. If you're not growing and you're staying still, you want to be growing. That's stressful. And if you're declining and you're losing money and your business is going down, well, that's also stressful. Probably more stressful than the first two. So everything in life just comes with stress. It's just how it goes. But you just got to sit back, relax, and realize, life's not too serious. If you could, afford to pay your rent, go out to Chipotle. That's what I always say. Life is good. It's really the way I think life should be lived. Some other things. So I started doing this, and some of you guys are going to think I'm fucking nuts, but I think this is something that's really helped me. So what I started doing every single day, so I get into our office like 8:30, I leave like 6:30, 7. I started shutting off my phone all day till 7 p.m. Pretty crazy, right? And I started doing it. I feel so much better because there's all these texts and notifications and all this bullshit that you get so tied up in, especially when you're focused on doing something and you respond to a text. There's a thing, like a psychology study, that says it takes you 15 minutes to get back on track, truly, to what you were doing before. And a phone is just so distracting. It really is, and especially because, for me specifically, I'm in the world of dating, and I have a few girls who will be texting me, and it's just distracting. It just fucking is. So I just cut it cold turkey and shut it down till 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. And yes, some of you guys might think I'm fucking insane, but it's okay. It helps me mentally and makes me feel better. And the last thing I'll say, so this is just totally not sports card related, but so my business partner, you guys don't know who he is. It doesn't matter, but he owns half the business. I'm the face of it. He runs the sales team. He just got out of a 6-year relationship, and now he's in the world of dating, and we're talking about it. And me and him have very, very, very similar viewpoints with the type of girl we want and how we view dating. Very similar, ironically. And we both, want that type of girl that's like, and I feel like a lot of guys do, honestly. A homebody, cooks, cleans, more traditional. However, as funny as that may sound from myself, like, I'm not like that person. Or I'm not that guy that's like, stay home, cook, clean, and take care of the kids. I actually think even your wife or anybody should always have a passion and purpose in life. And I think my future wife, I would want her to have a job, want her to have some sort of passion to pursue. I think no matter how much you love your kids, I think staying home with them all day, every day is just a miserable way to live life, right? Because kids will drive you fucking crazy. But we have very similar viewpoints when it comes to dating, and that's the type of girl we want. And what's interesting is we have that viewpoint, but the areas of the country we live in are very difficult to find those types of girls, right? So we've lived in like Tampa, Austin, Scottsdale, New York. And the problem with these areas, they're amazing areas to live in, and you meet amazing people. But the dating scene is very difficult. It just is. And I could go on to this. I could go on for days about this, but a lot of these, not saying everybody, I'm not being sexist here, but a lot of these women who, one, they move here from a different part of the country, all these guys, they get so much attention from men with money and just throwing things at them that it kind of, sometimes, I guess you could say, gives girls some sort of ego, I guess is the best way to describe it. I don't know. And I've known this for years. I mean, I've been single for a long time, and he just started seeing this and started talking to me about it. I was like, that's crazy, because I've been thinking this in my head for years now. And what's funny is he said something to me that I've always thought in my head. He's like, man, like, you know, these girls who I meet, they try and like brag to me about all these like crazy things they've done and all their crazy life experiences and how they go out and this and that. And whether they do, whether they don't, not sure. But he says to me, it's actually unattractive, because I want someone that's more of, you know, a peaceful person, more of a homebody, I guess he is, for lack of a better term. And we were having this conversation in the hot tub, and I was like, wow, I've been thinking this to myself for years. That's totally true. But it's interesting. I think the dating game is interesting. And the reason I think dating is so interesting is because, and this is probably why I'm single, what I'm about to say, but I think it's kind of similar to business in a way. Like just going on dates and meeting people and kind of advertising yourself, for lack of a better term. It's just an interesting game. And I started to study like dating a few months ago, which is why you hear me talking about it more and more, and just how kind of people operate and the psychology behind it. And it's just interesting. But yeah, that's all I got for you today. But hopefully this provided you guys some value, and hopefully these questions helped you guys out just a little bit with sports cards. If you ever have questions, feel free to leave a comment in like the YouTube comments or on Instagram, wherever you're watching this. But if you are watching this, like, comment, subscribe. I'll leave a video somewhere around my face here that'll lead you to another video that's a good follow-up to this one. But if you're watching this on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.